We are here with Nate Worthen, who is the president of Professional Real Estate Services, which is a commercial real estate firm that's completed more than 2,000 transactions, across hundreds of markets. So, Nate, thanks for joining us. How's the day going so far?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, we're having a good one, and it's Friday, so looking forward to the weekend.
Absolutely. You got big weekend plans?
I'm campaigning for city council in my small little town, so we're gonna be out knocking doors this weekend, which could be fun, but I'll at least get
Nice.
to. Yeah,
That's awesome. So is this the first go round for you?
it is. Yep, first time doing anything like this, and I have no idea how it'll go, but we're gonna give it a go.
I love it. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have three. They're all little, 6, 5, and 10 months.
I was about to say, get them out there, put them
You
on
know they're
the.
gonna be in the wagon. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Be like, I don't know if you see my kids back here, but they're there.
Exactly. That's right.
Well, awesome. Well, good luck on. Hopefully that goes well.
Thank you.
I'm curious. What? Let's just start from the beginning. I mean, what first drew you into real estate, and what did those early years teach you about how this business really works?
Yeah, I love it. My real estate was not intentional for me. I was coaching college basketball in South Carolina. I was not very good at that, but it was a passion of mine. And things did not work out. I ran out of money. I owed everyone some amount of money, brother, grandparents, aunts. Um, and so I moved back home to my parents' basement, started applying for jobs. And frankly, at that point in my life, I honestly would have taken a janitorial job. Fortunately, I was hired at a group called NAI Utah, and they had a need on their global corporate services account to service the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Your listeners may know that as the Mormon Church. So we were working on their real estate around the world, and it turned out to be something I was good at and was passionate about and fell in love with it, ended up being successful. And so, anyway, that was back in 2012. And when you ask about what did I learn, most of what I learned I attribute to mentors in my life and professional mentors. And I learned about how to be creative. I learned about how to communicate and respond. Responsiveness seems to be the number one characteristic or criteria for high customer satisfaction in our industry. And then I learned to be honest. It's embarrassing, but I didn't always give the full story, and that got me in trouble a couple of times. And so learning to tell it like it is was a big growth, part of my growth.
I love that. I love that. I mean, it's interesting that you coach basketball first and foremost. That had to
Yeah.
be that had to be some interesting experiences, if nothing else. So
Yeah, it was pretty wild. The school, not that you care about this, but the school I was coaching at is called Columbia College in Columbia, South Carolina, not to be confused with Columbia University in New York. So, Columbia College, home of the Fighting Koalas at the time.
oh, I love it.
It was an all-women's school. They're now co-ed, but at the time they were all women's school, and we had a purple sports court that we played our basketball games on. It was electric.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The fighting koalas.
The fighting
I
koalas,
just
ferocious. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love what you said about in terms of just for one, the responsiveness, in customer satisfaction. I think that that's one thing that in this day and age can sometimes be lost, is just having that human touch and that human element of creating trust in those kinds of situations, but also coupling that with the honesty piece. I early part of my career, I was in a enterprise sales role, and I remember it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't have the best product, if you don't have the best answers, if you don't have these things, it's kind of like everybody's pushing you to be like, yeah, just don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. But as time goes on, I have found again, like that's how you build trust, is by being honest. And if you're just upfront with like, hey, this may not be or this may be the most expensive thing, but it is definitely going to help you to, fit your needs and what you need. I think people respond to that a lot better than you trying to just maneuver it in a way that maybe is, I don't want to say like lying by omission, but leaving things out that could be important to folks. So,
That's right. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So when you look back at your early years in brokerage, I mean, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced that, have shaped your approach today?
Yeah, okay. So number one was workload.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, but you might find it interesting to know that the LDS Church is the second largest landholder in the United States, private landholder. Obviously, the federal government's the largest, and the LDS Church is either number one or number two, but probably number two. And
Wow.
so that means there's a lot of transactions. And we're not just talking about purchasing or selling or even leasing real estate, but we're getting condemnation actions from cities. We've got property use agreements and license agreements and utility companies that want to put transformers on the corner of different properties. So there's a lot to manage. And I came in not knowing very much, and it was like drinking out of a fire hose. So what I learned was that the team that I joined had already set up a system for communication, deal management, and tracking tasks. And luckily, I had been humbled enough by my failure as a basketball coach that I came in and just said, I will do it your way. I'll do whatever you tell me. If you tell me I need to wear a tie to work, I'll wear a tie. If I got to use Microsoft Office to manage my tasks, I'll do it. So it didn't matter what the process was, but I committed to a process. And that changed everything for me. Instead of me thinking that I knew best, or it was too difficult, or I already had a work management workflow or process. I just bought into the team's process. And for the last 13 years, what I have learned is having a process that you're fully committed to is so important and so effective. I'll give you just a small anecdote. They wanted us to save our files using a certain nomenclature, like 2-digit year, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, space, hyphen, space, and then label the document. I still do that today. And I'll tell you this, it's annoying. It takes a little bit extra time, but I can find my documents so easily. When we've been involved in lawsuits, it's simple, it's easy, it's fast. And that organization tip has lasted me for 13 years. So there you go. It's the little things, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Those little things add up and they kind of shape and frame how how you show up in other situations and what that can lead to as you continue your professional career. So
Right.
I when I was in Salt Lake last, my buddy lives out there, so we try to go up to Park City every year or two. And I was staying in a hotel down there, and I remember the coffee shop or like the little breakfast area wasn't open. It was like under construction or something.
Okay.
And I remember the people that were whoever was working at the hotel said something about like, well, the owners are trying to get it upgraded. And I just thought to myself, I was like, okay, well, like how far along are we in this process? And come to find out, the owners was the church. And so it was at that moment where I was like, oh man, they really do run everything here, you know. So it's not surprising to me that in terms of just the amount of land or the amount of just coverage that they have, because it was in the hotel that I was at. So
Yeah, they're a fun account to work on because of the breadth of deals that they have to do. Yeah.
it's pretty funny. So what ultimately made you decide to start, professional real estate services? Was there like a specific moment when you realized like, I have an idea here, we can do this better?
Yeah, gosh, this was pre-COVID. Our firm, so I started at NAI Utah, sat in the same desk, but it wasn't, I wasn't a principal. The principals decided to reaffiliate with Newmark at the time. Newmark is a national NASDAQ traded company. But we were franchised, locally owned and operated, and that was fine. That was a great brand. It was fun to work with. But ultimately, the owner of the franchise decided to sell to corporate. And at that time, corporate came in with some contracts and wanted us to make a 5-year commitment and some other things. And it was then I realized that my heart was not, I'm a Mustang that was not supposed to be broken, not supposed to be tamed. So I'm not interested in the W-2 income. I'm not interested in, 9 to 5. I want to do things on my time frame, my time schedule, and I want to be in control. And I felt too handicapped by that agreement. It worked for many people and it continues to work. For me, it wasn't the right fit. And so I decided to go off on my own. Same clients, same level of service, same processes, just my own brand this time.
Love it. I love it. I definitely can. I like the part where you talk about just the Mustang that can't be broken. It's like I think so many people, and I don't want to use the word conform, but so many people just operate off of this is what you do, and this is how people go about it, and this is the expected way to do it. And it's like at some point, I think there's in a lot of people, I know in me as well, where there's a point where it's like, no, I can do it differently. I can do it my way without having to do it your way, and still, it's like almost that searching deep within yourself to know, like, you know what, I want to show that I can do it, but I want to do it my way, kind of thing.
I agree. I think there's kind of two um, factors that can really influence us away from whether you want to call it your intention or your calling or your purpose or whatever. The first is fear. It's too many times we're just afraid, and that fear is well founded. It's trying to protect us, but it doesn't lead us into courageous places where we can really find, um, fulfillment or our potential. The second, so yeah, there's fear, and then the second is ego and pride. And, sometimes, and I had to think about this really carefully in my case. Do I want to go do my own thing because I'm just too prideful? I'm just too like ego driven that I don't want to do it with someone else. I want to do it on my own. It's my brand, it's my stuff. And I came to the conclusion that no, this was about uh, me being the best version of myself and being able to offer my clients what I'm best at, adaptability, responsiveness, and flexibility. And being at the other firm didn't allow that. So anyway, fear is on the one hand, and then on the other hand is sort of this ego pride piece. Trying to find somewhere where you're not heeding either of those masters is a beautiful, frightening place to be.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think you hit, like, I think the fear thing is massive, because it's, I think there's a fear of failure, obviously, but also I think there's a level of fear of success too.
Yes,
And
no doubt.
I think that's something that's stopped me in the past, is like it's almost like this is too good to be true. And then it's like, man, like, can I do it? So I think it's almost like that. It's like a fear of failure wrapped up in fear of success, almost, if that makes sense. Like, okay, yes, I am going to be successful, but eventually it's not, the other shoe's going to drop, kind of thing.
Yeah. I
Uh,
had a coworker and a colleague. We ended up being roommates for a little while early in my career. His name's Darnell DeBrule. He calls
mm,
it upper limiting, where we put our own ceiling on top of ourselves. And it's like that resonated for me in a deep way. Like, what if I am too successful? What would that mean? Right? Am I worthy? Am I deserving? Can
yeah,
I handle it? Because if I get too good, maybe I'm going to fail spectacularly. Right? Like,
yes,
yeah, that stuff resonates deeply.
absolutely, yeah. It's like the level of it's the level of failure that can happen, because there's so much more at stake now that you could potentially screw up. So it's like that, it's an interesting thought, and I think it drives a lot of people, whether it's one way or the other.
I agree
So
completely.
I'm curious, like, I know you had, well, let me ask you this. For someone looking to grow their own firm or their own team, I mean, what would you tell them about, building that credibility and long-term relationships? I know you touched on just responsiveness, but if you don't mind, maybe just double clicking into that, or maybe even elaborating a little more.
Yeah, so for anyone who might be listening to this message, the first there's maybe two components. The first is dynasty building. If you're thinking that it feels interesting to you to build something big so that you can, for whatever reason, more revenue, more income, more market share, I would first ask you this question: for what purpose or why? And if you have a real clear why about why that sounds good, then great, go chase that. If you don't have a why, if it's because you'll look good to your colleagues or to your neighborhood or to your community, or because there's a glass or, in my case, plastic trophy waiting for you at the end, those are not good enough reasons to try to build a dynasty. There are bigger things in life. So understanding what we want. For me, I got a 6-year-old who's learning to read. You can't buy that from me, right? So no amount of dynasty building takes away time on the sofa with her listening to her mispronounce things like spaghetti, right?
Hmm.
There's that piece. The second piece is team building. Team building can leverage your time. Team building can free you up to do what you do best and be more responsive, be quicker to market, be better at what you're really good at. It can also be a huge distraction. Managing people, putting in processes, becoming a manager or an administrator as opposed to an operator. And that's not for everyone. I don't believe there's any shame in if you are fishing, for instance, you going out and casting the pole and reeling them in. There is no shame in that. You don't need to buy 7 boats and have a fleet and go make a commercial fishing industry out of it if it doesn't meet your needs. So for me, I think it's about understanding what you want and why first, and then sort of figuring that out if that's something you decide to chase.
I love that. Yeah, it's how you go about it doesn't matter as much as why you're going about it. And I think that's a
Exactly right.
strong point. Um, Switching gears a little bit, I know you've said you're not, in in practicality, not a prop tech operator per se, but I know you mentioned that you're a heavy user. What types of, technology have become essential to, your business today?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think AI right now is both the biggest threat and opportunity in the commercial real
Yeah.
estate space. So, thinking about fear, for instance, many of us feel threatened and maybe fearful about how is AI going to disrupt our business from an industry standpoint. But I think a lot of us are afraid of, wait, how do I incorporate AI into my workflow? Like that could be disruptive for me. I've got to reinvent myself and how I use prop tech. I would identify as an early adopter of prop tech. I'm using, of course, many of us are engaging with large language models, right, where we're talking to ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or whatever, Gemini, and we're interacting with it so that it can make us faster, more efficient, better communicators. That's all great. I think that's maybe sort of elementary. The next level up is how do we use those tools to make better decisions?
Hmm.
Communication is one thing, but how do we improve decision making? There are tools like Pargo AI that is a site selection tool, so we can query parcels across the United States, filter them by different characteristics, and do it really, really fast. That's for me unprecedented territory that I think is really cool. uh, Doing deep research with tools like Gemini. Gemini 3.0 came out 2 days ago. And so,
Hmm.
what can Gemini do? Well, here's one example, but there's an infinite number of examples. What if I could create my own, what if we create for you, Jacob, the Fiddler Index? And the Fiddler Index is a community's receptiveness to new development. And what if we took that for, let's say I live in Utah, we do it for all of Utah, and we say which communities are the most receptive to development, and we use unstructured data to create this idea. So we send Gemini out as a deep research tool and we use Facebook posts and Yelp reviews and news articles and city council agendas to gather this data and then create a ranking for cities from most receptive to least receptive, and we could talk about that. We could release that on an annual basis. I mean, the value of that level of research and having a tool that does that for you, but you're sort of the guide behind it, is really interesting to think about and could be really interesting to help developers say, sure, price is one component, but what about the development process? How do we get there? So those are the things I'm using today, practically speaking. And of course, I'm imagining hundreds of other use cases that are interesting as well.
Totally. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head is that there's, I think, a built-in just, and maybe a healthy fear of how is it going to come in and disrupt the commercial real estate industry. I mean, I've been more on the multifamily side of the real estate industry in my career, but I know that, on that side, and I think it relates somewhat to the commercial side. I could be wrong, but it is inherently slow adopters of technology that are at the helm for a lot of at least the multifamily side. I have a feeling that it all be a commercial side as well, where people are just hesitant to bring on all these new technology, and the AI piece is something that while there are, everybody talks about AI taking people's jobs, right? And while I do think that there are jobs that will be replaced and already are being replaced by that, the amount of new jobs that it is creating or will be creating, I think is going to be just as much, because you think about, you put a new process in place, you put a new system in place, and you have all these different like components to it that need to be managed by a human. So now you have a whole new system that you didn't have to have anyone at the helm of, that now you need to have a body or have somebody that's helping to just oversee that piece of it. So I think that there's like that realm of fear of a lot of different ways of how is it going to disrupt, how many jobs is it going to take, things like that. But also like, well, what on the other side of the token, like what all can we create from that? And how many new people can we help from that? And so that's kind of thinking a lot. Was this to help versus how is this going to be a hindrance? Which a year ago more concerning of like how is this going to be a hindrance?
Yeah, when fear shows up, we're afraid of losing jobs, we're afraid of our
Mhm.
own job or whatever. My recommendation is first take a deep breath, and second, stare the fear in the eyes. And in the case of AI, it probably means not hiding from it, but embracing it and understanding it, working with it, exploring the tools. If you're someone who doesn't feel ready to embrace technology, then start small. And does that mean downloading your first AI app on your phone and engaging with it? Does it mean asking your son or grandson or nephew or aunt or best friend to show you how they use AI? Those types of steps are, frankly, steps of courage. And not only are you going to be better professionally for that, you're going to be a better human. Because every time we practice courage, we become better people. And so AI is the opportunity to do that. And I'm all in for that.
Absolutely. I mean, I always try and, there's always something new. Like you said, even Gemini 3.0 coming out 2 days ago. I mean, there's something new every single day. And there are, there's a lot of people that are, that's all they do is they track, they look, they, try and develop their own ways. And so learning from everybody else, because it's something that I'm a firm believer that you, especially when it comes to something that's so unknown of like how much can it do, you have to be willing to just go into and like, I don't know anything about it, how can I learn about it? And that's how I've kind of adapted my own methodology to it, my own thought process to it. So
It
Um,
brought something to mind. So like, let's say I don't have a whiteboard behind me, but there's a space between not knowing something and knowing it. And we have all gone
mhm.
through it, you and I both as well, because there was a time not so long ago we knew nothing about AI, and now we know something, probably not all of it. And in the middle of that space of not knowing to knowing, it is filled with frustration. It is so difficult. It's hard. It feels like I don't even know how to use it, or worse, someone else is using it. I don't know how, I don't know what. And that space means we're learning. If you feel frustration, that's an indicator that you are improving, you're getting better, you're learning. And if you feel that, that is good for you. It's not just good for you personally, it's good for your career. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, so I'm all in to feel. Look, I don't. Frustration is uncomfortable for me as well. I don't like it, but I try to remember what it means. And it sounds like you've experienced the same thing.
I have gotten to a point where I really, really believe that in order to grow both as a human and as a professional, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that's easier said than done some days. There's some days where I'm like, man, I just want to hang it up. I want to go scroll Twitter. I want to go do all of this stuff. But then, is that moving me forward through the day and helping me to become a better person, a better professional, a better, right? I mean, I'm not married, but a better boyfriend, for example. But
Right. Yes,
or
exactly.
am I going the other way? And I'm really like, we only have so many days on this earth, and if you don't use each one to the maximum advantage that you can, I mean, you're doing something wrong. So
I really hope your listeners, especially the early ones, watch your podcast because if you practice what I think you just said, in a year from now, your podcast offerings are going to be better. The content's going to be better. The technology is going to be better. You're going to find new ways to present interesting information, and this conversation will look old. And that's great. That's a good sign that you're in the right direction, right?
100%. And I think about that a lot in terms of like, when I just started this, because I mean, we're still going into the final recordings of, the 20 episodes that we're doing to start. And, the first few, I I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, this is okay, should I go down this route? Like, how do I ask? How much do I talk versus they talk? And I still feel like I probably talk too much, but it's just always about learning and getting feedback and, getting better every day. So I appreciate that. I am curious. I know, I know you mentioned that like there's things you're imagining around what all AI could do for you guys in general. I mean, what would you say is like uh, like something that would be right now if you had it would help you guys to either spread your reach. I know you mentioned that kind of one tool that would be like the perfect aggregate of pulling things from Facebook and all of that. I mean, what else when you imagine things, what else do you imagine?
Yeah, so let's imagine in any city in the United States, well, with the exception of Houston, there is, and maybe a few others, there's a zoning code, right? Zoning
Uh-huh.
matters. And every year, city councils around the country vote on changing those ordinances. They could be small changes or they could be big changes. But let's just imagine one, for instance. We've got an R112 zoning. That means 1 unit per 12,000 square feet, quarter acre lots. And the city council says rather than having a 100-foot frontage requirement, we're going to change it to 80 feet. That one change means that someone in the city, probably multiple landowners, just got enough, their frontage requirement was reduced enough that now they can build two homes instead of one. If we could use AI to determine what a proposed city council vote would impact, like which landowners in our city would be impacted by this for better or for worse, imagine what that means. Number one, we could inform people so they could understand, oh my gosh, wow, look, I'm getting value out of this. Or if the data was proprietary, we would know, and we could go make offers. We could go make acquisition plays on property where the landowner themselves may or may not even understand what this means for them. And then we buy it, we inherit the value, we do the subdivision, we improve the property. That is happening everywhere. And if you can get ahead of that, that could be incredible. That's one of many ideas that I think AI could eventually help us with.
I love that. I love how you are imagining things that are like, it's because some people kind of keep it simple, right? They think like, oh, well, I wish it could automate this or it could help me to bring in more clients. Like it's very like surface level on like how they think they get there for that. I like your kind of out of the box thinking of like, actually, if we could mold this with this, I mean, that's where I think the real power of it comes into play. Yes, of course, there's ways that you can go about, streamlining operations and things like that. But, when you're able to kind of think about something that's a little more like grandiose, like what could be available out there, I think the sky's the limit there, which is awesome for you.
I agree. I agree. Efficiencies are terrific. I'm all for
Hmm.
efficiencies. Somewhere, somehow, we're going to be able to replicate efficiencies, and you'll have consultants or AI experts who can do that. I guess I'm a little more passionate about use cases where there's application where we can generate real revenue opportunities, at least in my
Yeah,
industry. Yeah.
100%. I 100% agree. No, this has been great. The last question that I usually ask folks is when you are not thinking about zoning requirements and things of that nature, what do you do to unwind?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I'm wound pretty tight as it is, so unwinding isn't something that I'm very practiced at. But I think for me, the biggest thing that sort of fills my cup, if you will, is connection. So interacting with you, for instance, has been a connecting part of my day. I'm for lunch, I'm going to go celebrate someone's birthday. Those moments are really connecting. And I don't mean to make it cheesy. I'm in Utah, I'm a family man. But sitting on that sofa, reading that book, about spaghetti that's it for me. Helping someone else and being a part of their process of growth. I mean, there's nothing richer for me.
I love that. Yep, yeah, I agree. I think connection is the most important thing that we have in this life. You take away the career, you take away the money, you take all of that away, and you're left with your relationships and you're left with your health. And I think those are two very, and not to get morbid here, my dad just passed away 3 months ago from a long battle with cancer.
I'm sorry to
And
hear that.
I appreciate it. It's I'm actually sitting in his desk right now, which is,
Oh, wow.
somewhat comforting. Still kind of weird, but it's that we had 5 years, and it was in those 5 years that, I still look in his desk and there's unfinished stuff from his work. And there's unfinished things here and projects that he didn't finish. And those are all things that you can live without. You don't need to have the projects, the extra thing. Yes, it's great. You need to have a stable income and all of that. But I think he'll come back and tell you that he worked too hard and that he probably should have used some of that time to maybe spend less time with that and more time, fostering those relationships. And he was a great man. I mean, he was an amazing dad and husband and all of that. But,
Yeah.
those the 5 years, and especially the last year or two, it didn't matter what I was doing outside of that, for that day. I was more interested in spending time with my dad. And, I'm glad that I had an opportunity to. So
What I
I
love most about that is that prop tech, AI, whatever technology tools, I don't believe will ever be able to give us that connection. That's
nope.
we have to do on our own. And so using tools to do the other stuff so we can get more connection, gosh, that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Well, we appreciate you hopping on here, Nate. Again, it's professional real estate services, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just prorealestateservices.com, right?
Yeah, thanks for the shout out. You can reach us there. Love to engage, mentor, and then of course we love to transact. So if you have a need, please reach out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for your time, Nate. Yeah, loved having you on here. So
Thanks.
cool.